Here's the brutal truth that will set you free. Hypergamy doesn't sleep. It doesn't take days off. It doesn't care how long you've been loyal, how sweet you've been, or how much you've sacrificed. It's not something she logically chooses. It's something she instinctively feels. Deep in her subconscious, a woman is always scanning for the best possible option available to her. Not because she's evil, but because she's designed to seek security and strength. Evolution wired her to survive, and part of that survival is aligning with the most dominant energy in her environment. That dominance isn't always about money or status. It's about presence. It's about how grounded you are, how much control you have over your life, how much certainty your energy carries. A man could be rich and still repel her if his energy feels insecure, because hypergamy doesn't respond to your resume, it responds to your energy. The problem is, most men get comfortable once they think they've secured her. They win her over, get her commitment, then they start coasting. They think love means they've reached a finish line. But that's when the clock starts ticking. That's when her subconscious starts noticing if you're still expanding or if you've stopped growing. And once she feels you've plateaued, even slightly, her instincts start wandering. Not because she planned it, but because comfort to her signals decline. Women feel attraction toward movement, power, and potential. If you're not evolving, you're being silently replaced in her mind by the image of a man who is. It happens gradually. Subtle disinterest, less affection, shorter responses. You didn't do anything wrong, you just stopped doing what made her choose you in the first place. Hypergamy isn't cruel, it's just consistent, and it punishes stagnation without apology. A lot of men never see it coming. One moment, she's smiling at you, texting goodnight, telling you how lucky she feels. Then slowly, that light fades. She becomes distant, colder. You replay everything in your head, searching for the mistake, but there wasn't one. You didn't cheat, you didn't lie, you didn't mistreat her, you simply stopped evolving. That's what most men don't understand. In her eyes, if you're standing still, you're falling behind. Attraction isn't about what you've done, it's about what you're becoming. The second you begin to coast, she starts to sense the shift. She may not even be aware of it consciously, but emotionally, she feels less inspired, less pulled toward you. And that's the beginning of the end. It's not that she found someone better, it's that you stopped being the man she felt rising. And once the emotional momentum dies, so does her desire. You can't win this game by clinging to past versions of yourself. Women aren't loyal to your history, they're loyal to your direction. Are you climbing, building, expanding, or are you trying to ride the wave of what once was? That's what she's feeling. That's what determines whether she leans in or pulls away. The painful truth is, you don't have to mess up for her to lose interest. You just have to become predictable, static, uninspiring. She's drawn to growth, to energy that moves with purpose, and if you become too familiar, too available, too safe, she starts emotionally withdrawing. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because her nature pulls her toward vitality, toward a future. So when you stop leading with vision, when you stop chasing something greater, you stop being the man she believed in. And she'll never say it out loud, but inside, she's already watching someone else rise. But here's where most men get it wrong. They think the solution is to hustle harder for her approval. They think if they show her they're trying, she'll stay. But that only pushes her further away. Because the moment you make your growth about her, you've already lost frame. You've placed her at the center of your mission, and she can feel it. Women are deeply sensitive to energy. When your actions are fueled by the need to win her back or impress her, it doesn't feel like leadership, it feels like desperation. That's not what pulls her in. What pulls her in is when you evolve for yourself. When you chase discipline, power, and purpose not to prove something, but because you demand it from yourself. That's the masculine foundation. You wake up earlier, you train harder, you build your business, you sharpen your mind, not to win a woman's attention, but because you're no longer willing to tolerate mediocrity in yourself. You stop chasing emotions and start chasing excellence. And in doing that, you become a different man. A man who doesn't need Urba, who she can't help but respect. Because now you're not reacting to her behavior. You're focused on a mission bigger than her moods, and that creates a shift in dynamic. She starts to feel your absence not because you ghosted her, but because you're too dialed in to be emotionally needy. She sees the difference in how you carry yourself. You're quieter, sharper, more composed. And that contrast ignites something in her: curiosity, respect, even longing. Not because you're trying to win her, but because you've already won yourself. That's the moment everything changes. When your growth stops being a tactic and becomes your identity. That's when you no longer chase attraction, because now, it chases you. Growth is powerful, but without mystery, it loses its grip. Most men make the fatal mistake of overexposure. They think vulnerability means full access. They over-communicate and over-explain, thinking transparency builds connection. But what they don't realize is that mystery is magnetic. Attraction thrives in the unknown. When a woman feels like she already has all of you, there's nothing left to chase, nothing left to uncover. You become familiar, routine, predictable. And predictability suffocates desire. A high-value man knows this. He doesn't give her all the answers. He doesn't need to. He lets her feel him through his actions, not his explanations. He keeps his inner world layered, not because he's hiding something, but because he's living something she can't fully touch. And that subtle distance creates tension, the kind of tension that keeps her intrigued, pulled in, slightly off. Balance. It's not about playing games. It's about creating polarity. When you're always available, always updating her with your every move, always emotionally accessible, you collapse that polarity. You become less of a mystery and more of a mirror. She sees too much, too soon. A woman wants to feel like she's still discovering you, piece by piece. She wants to wonder what you're thinking, what drives you, what parts of yourself you're not giving away so easily. That's what holds her attention, the unknown within the known. So while most men are busy proving themselves, a man of value pulls back, not to punish, not to manipulate, but because he knows his presence is earned, not given. He doesn't put his soul on the table for anyone who asks. He lets her feel the gravity of his silence, the depth of his restraint. And in that quiet tension, attraction doesn't fade, it intensifies. So, how do you satisfy hypergamy? You don't. You transcend it. You stop trying to win the game, and instead become the kind of man the game revolves around. You detach from outcome. You stop making her the prize and start becoming the standard. Because the moment you anchor your value to her response, you surrender your power. Hypergamy isn't the enemy, it's a filter, a relentless test of your consistency, drive, and masculine frame. And if you're solid within yourself, you don't fear that test, you welcome it. You know you're not growing for approval. You're growing because anything less than greatness insults who you are. You focus on your mission, not her reactions. You cultivate discipline whether anyone's watching or not. You move in silence, not for mystery's sake, but because your results do the talking. You lead with calm, not chaos. And that creates something rare in today's world, certainty. While everyone else is chasing, you're choosing. While others are performing, you're building. And in that stillness, she feels something most women never experience. A man who cannot be moved. A man who doesn't flinch under pressure. A man who doesn't chase love, he attracts it. Not through force, but through presence. That's the man she can't replace. Not because he's perfect, but because he's rooted. And when she sees that you're not swayed by her highs and lows, when she feels that your value is constant, whether she stays or leaves, that's when the dynamic changes. She no longer looks elsewhere because she knows there's nothing out there more stable, more driven, more real. You don't win her by trying to keep her, you win by continuing to become, because the man who outgrows himself every day becomes the man no woman wants to lose.